After a long and highly anticipated wait, the second chapter of Residence Massacre has finally been released, and with it comes expansions and improvements to nearly every aspect of the previous chapter. From cutscenes to more unique and interesting gameplay, this is certainly a successful chapter in my eyes, even if Weird Strict Dad is unfortunately beating it at the moment. But I'm not here to talk about that. No. Today we are going to be talking about the lore and story of the second chapter, and how it not only expands on the lore of this game, but also helps prove that these Roblox horror games may actually be connected. Sounds crazy, right? Well, strap on in and be sure to like and subscribe, because in this video, I'll be explaining to you the ever-growing Roblox Horror Multiverse. Yes, multiverse. Yeah, let's get into it. So, this chapter begins pretty much where the last one left off. The player character has survived the attack by Larry, the creature, and has gone back to the factory to work. Here, they are doing the night shift, and they have to do this alone or with the team to prepare for the day shift in the next morning. The gameplay here is very much different, and it actually gives us a clue as to what's been happening in this factory. So it's pretty clear that despite the radio saying that what happened in the factory was an accident where Larry was created, this does not seem to be the case. It appears that the factory is almost intended to create these monstrosities for whatever reason. You can see testing chambers, and they have lots of security measures and protocol in place to stop them from escaping their containment, leading me to believe that whatever's happening here is sanctioned by the government, or at the very least sanctioned by this company who be happening. Which is very interesting. That was certainly not something I was expecting, that the actual government was behind this, but yeah, that just seems to be the case. There's a lot more entities here besides Larry. There's one that comes out of the vents, there's one that teleports around, and they are interestingly scared off by light, which is a recurring theme from the previous chapter. Light dispels these creatures. So anyways, you just kind of do the thing, you survive, the day comes, and the player leaves. One very interesting thing to note, the amount of similarity there is to Jim's computer. And in the first video, I kind of denied that. I was like, well, why would these games be connected? But I feel like the second chapter really wants us to think that these games are connected. So, I've actually changed my mind. I think that these games are connected, Jim's computer and Residence Massacre. Because we see, at the factory, there's a bunch of missing persons posters. And they're stacked all around the factory. They're kind of littered around the floor. There's police presence kind of around. Obviously, it could be for anyone. I mean, there's an NPC that's alive inside the factory. It could be them that's missing, but I think it's actually Jim. I think Jim used to work at this factory, and since he's killed himself because Larry escaped, there was that whole broadcast about intruders, he killed himself because of the pressure, and now he's missing. He's a missing person. Which is very interesting that that is the case. It would also kind of play into why Jim has the anxiety that he does, because he's been working around these creatures all the time, and so they've just kind of festered and gotten to his head. He probably hasn't really seen them anyway, because of, well, it's a facility. They're pretty much shrouded in darkness until they actually escape their containers, and it doesn't seem like they've escaped before, so it would explain why Jim has an anxiety about what they would have looked like and all that stuff. So, that's the Jim's computer Residence Massacre stuff, but this actually goes a bit deeper than that. We can further prove a connection between the two games, because in Residence Massacre Chapter 2, you can get supplies kind of lifted to you via drone in these boxes, and a very similar mechanic exists in Jim's computer, which is how in Jim's computer you get all the stuff that you do, it's very interesting that these mechanics, and obviously the only way the player would be able to get such a thing in Jim's computer, and as well in Resident Massacre, is via drone. So it's very interesting that these mechanics exist parallel to each other and work the same way. But anyways, that's just proving a connection between the two games. That's not really proving a Roblox multiverse thing, right? Well, let me turn your attention back to a good old friend. We have a nostalgic Crossroads hangout. You remember this game. This game was huge. It's probably one of my favorite Roblox horror games ever, although some of us would disagree, but I digress. The nostalgic hangout game, if you know the bad ending is you end up at Jim's computer in Jim's computer after he's killed himself. And that is super interesting. The fact that Jim's computer is connected to this whole Crossroads Hangout Roblox multiverse kind of thing, which in turn, as we've already said, also implicates Residence Massacre, which is connected to Jim's computer, which is connected to this. It's a web. And I know that the creator of Nostalgic Crossroads Hangout, he is in contact with a lot of these Roblox, like old Roblox game developers and stuff, because the final game, I know it's going to be like a collaboration of even more of these games. I know a stereotypical obby, all that lore is being mixed in. Well, obviously we have the myths, all these myth games that are mixed in. Even the Smiles family potentially could be implicated into this, because they have been mentioned and name dropped a heck of a lot in these two games. And with the recent popularity of stuff like Night Watch and Submarine Simulator, which are all stuff that are connected to the Smiles family lore, it wouldn't surprise me if they're also mixed in as well. One very big game that I think really helps this Roblox multiverse thing even more is Doors. And that seems crazy, because Doors is like so much above all these other games in terms of popularity and in terms of like fandom and player base, which is, it might seem crazy that these games are connected together. I mean, even though in Crossroads Hangout game, like, you run through doors, like that's a big part of the game. Like, you run through doors, and you also run through Brookhaven and other things. So why is Doors the one that's like actually connected to this? Well, or at least theoretically connected to this, because I don't really know what type of contact Seeker has with the Doors developers, so we'll never truly know what level of connection there actually is between the two. But at the end of Doors, specifically at the end of Rooms, which is a game that's connected to Doors, the player ends up in like this massive hallway, and we can see all these like other doors, other connections to these other universes. I believe that all these, I think this was in a game theory video too, all these doors connect to other Roblox games, other games in the metaverse, and somehow Doors through Rooms has a connection to all these different games in the Roblox multiverse metaverse thing. And through that, things can move around, creatures, entities, all these like Roblox myths, all these creatures in the Roblox like fictional pantheon, they can move in between these worlds if they discover these sorts of points. Hi, Editor Null here, just coming in to confirm this. It's actually confirmed in Crossroads Hangout game that games can actually be built over RIS facilities, which is how people are able to transfer through games. It could be because of what Rooms is. It could be that, at least in Seeker's mind, that the Rooms is like a RIS facility, which is how in Doors, like how Doors is able to have kind of a pseudo multiverse of its own. At least that could be the thinking behind it. Just throwing it in there. Yeah, and I think that's the mythos that Nostalgic Crossroads Hangout game, like all those games, these are the mythos that they're all building off of. This sort of meta game within a game. It's very interesting how, if you think about it, a lot of Roblox media has this sort of meta storytelling underneath it. It's almost like implicitly, like all these Roblox games, they know that there's kind of like a kind of multiverse undertone to Roblox with the way that they've pushed the metaverse and all those sort of things. And not in like a cringe way. Like, I think it's really cool how Roblox developers kind of subtly, like in the back of their minds, when they're making games like this, they're like, oh, well, how could I connect this to this weird Roblox multiverse kind of push that they're doing? I know TDS has tried and failed at doing this. I know Jailbreak has done stuff like this before with some of their events. Obviously Doors, obviously Nostalgic Crossroads Hangout game, whatever it's called. How it's bringing all these Roblox horror games together. And I know this is turning from just a Residence Massacre theory into a bigger theory. I know I've gone on this little tangent, but honestly, there's not really much to Residence Massacre at the moment, aside from its connection to Jim's computer. But Jim's computer is connected to this, and I think this is a very, very interesting thing, because I think we're going to see more and more of these Roblox horror games especially merge and tell this larger story. And I feel like that is what's happening, and that's what's going to happen in the end of the Nostalgic Hangout game story. I feel like all these other games are also going to be implicated in that. which is why it's interesting and why I'm talking about it in a Residence Massacre video. So yeah, I really wonder what this will mean for a stereotypical obby, because a stereotypical obby to me is like the best of these kind of games, with all the Replica County Archive stuff added onto that. I really want to see how these stories interact with each other and how it'll affect the stories of these games, because aside from them all being connected, like they're all still their own universes, right? It's just like Marvel, where like they have the Avengers and then they have like their own individual characters. Like I wonder how this crossover event that's happening will affect these other games. I think it'll be very cool to see that, and it'll be very cool for theorists and other idiots like me. So anyways, that's the end of my tangent. Hopefully you've enjoyed it, hopefully you've learned something from it, and hopefully I've gotten you excited for the future of Roblox horror. Because I do think it's a genre where it's filled with a lot of garbage, right? We have stuff like Weird Strict Dad, we have stuff like Weird Sus Grandma, we have like those derivative games of Need More Heat and all that stuff, we have the stupid experience games, all these garbage goy slop crap. But there's also a lot of amazing games here and a lot of talented creators, and I feel like people don't really recognize that as much. So hopefully this video will do well, for one, and hopefully this video help like kind of inform you of all that. And yeah, that's pretty much all I have for this video. If you enjoyed, please be sure to like and subscribe, comment for the algorithm and all those other funny things. And yeah, see ya. Bye.